trial you're going through, God's gonna show you what to do. You can make it. You can make it. I don't care what's going wrong. God won't let it last too long, because you're not in this thing alone. You can make it.
God bless you. Let me say thank you this morning to all of you, and to Dr. Seabrook, and to, of course, Miss Chelsea, and my wife. And I want to say this before we begin today. On Friday, we will celebrate 60 years of marriage. So we are excited about this.
I didn't know that.
This Friday, we'll be celebrating 60 years of marriage. And what I always do when we have these kind of sessions, I let my wife begin, because her testimony as a mother is so unique, and I want her to begin to thank God for her and how God has allowed us to be together these 60 years.
Thank you, Pastor Wade, and to Dr. Seabrook, and of course to our good friend, Sister Chelsea. It's a blessing to be here this morning, and so we're grateful for the opportunity and for you to have us. Our son's name is Reverend James Commodore Wade. He's the third, and this was our first born. In September 25th, 2015, we received a call from Phoenix, Arizona, where he lived, that he had passed. What makes it so difficult, and made it so difficult, and still we are going through processes of just accepting everything.
Yes.
We had just talked to him 3 hours earlier, and making preparation for another funeral. Pastor Wade and I was making preparation to go to a memorial service for a good soldier going on to meet the Lord, 90-year-old lady. And so when we got back from the service that night, we get this call, and it was about 9. And so they proceeded to ask for my granddaughter, which is his daughter.
Yes.
And I told them she wasn't there. And could I help? They said, well, no, it has to be someone closest to kin. So I said, well, I don't know when she'll be in, but this is my granddaughter. And so when you say closest of kin, I said, where are you calling from? They said, Phoenix, Arizona. My son lives in Phoenix, Arizona. So I said, well, you need to talk to me a little more, because I have a son that lives in Phoenix, Arizona, which is her father. And he said, well, ma'am, I just wanted the closest of kin. And since you are the mother, we wanted you to know that he expired. Quite just like I am right now. And I took my breath. I said, what did you say? He said, your son passed about 5 hours ago. Now, when someone tell you that your child has passed, you're not thinking about time. Phoenix time is a little bit different from ours, 2 hours back.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that. I said, no, because I talked to him 3 hours ago. So you said 5 hours ago. So he said, well, ma'am. I said, well, describe him. He went on and he described him to the T. I said, you have to be wrong. So he said, ma'am, we do not even call.
No.
We don't even know unless we are definite.
Yes.
And so when he said that, I had to go get my husband. And I gave him the phone. I couldn't talk. I gave him the phone. And so he proceeded to talk with them, and they told him the same thing. We get off the phone and just look at each other. To tell you how I felt is just like, not telling you because it's such a feeling that you cannot even describe.
Yes. Yes.
Because, that's your child. This has just happened. So we talked to each other and we said, well, it must be true. So now we prayed and we cried and then we got on the phone and tried to locate family members. We have another daughter that lives in Gary, and our oldest daughter lives in Texas. And of course, we got in touch with his daughter. And so we just didn't tell them anything. We just thought, we need you to get to the house.
Yes.
And it was late anyway. So once they all got to the house and we contacted everybody, we told the story one time.
Yes.
So after everybody did everything that we did, I guess about 4 a.m. in the morning, and we all decided to just at least take a nap because the next day was the actual funeral of the lady that,
Yes.
well, my husband, knowing him like I know him, he loved his members. He told us, he said, I don't want you to mention, any of you to mention the passing of our son this morning. This lady deserved a good homegoing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go there and say James, and they loved James, that he had passed, it would have interfered and interrupted the service. So he said, let's not do that this morning. I am in the choir. I'm singing in the choir.
My goodness.
And directing it. That my daughter is in the choir. My granddaughter is in the choir. And we're looking at each other, singing and crying. That's what we're doing, singing and trying to hold ourselves together, because this was a request made by Pastor Wade, and we had to honor that. So at just before, in fact, he didn't say anything to anybody, period. So we went through the service.
I had to preach the funeral.
Yes.
Yes, that's where it's all. He had to preach the funeral. And so once he got through preach, all went to the repast. And at the very end of the repast, he made the announcement. They turned over the table, some chairs. People were just screaming and going up. We knew this would have happened had earlier. Well, we had to go to identify him. And I was selfish. I was angry. I was hurt. We were depressed. We were just in pain. But that Monday, he and I had to go to Arizona to identify the body. My prayer all the way was, Lord, don't let this be my child. Don't let this be my child. I didn't pray another prayer. I just didn't want it to be him. Mm. And when we did get there, and it took 3 men, my husband and 2 other men, my pastor went, which is our son-in-law, and our nephew, Reverend David Wade, and he lives in Phoenix. Yeah. All 3 of them had to hold me. I lost it. I just completely lost it. And I settled down. They settled me down, and we had to do all the final paperwork there.
I see why so much cleaning is on here. I'm listening.
It's hard to get through, but we had to come home. While we were in Phoenix, we got on the phone that night and told everybody, yes, it's him. And so, in preparation for a funeral, it takes you through so many channels.
Yes.
Because you got cut your grieving to start making preparation for a funeral. Yes. So you really don't get actually a chance to grieve.
You don't.
And so we are, that night, that's Monday night, because we were going home Sunday, right? We were having the children to get stuff together before we could even get back. So that's how just tight everything was, making decisions on when the funeral would be and who to contact, and all of this was just going through our heads and through our minds. And so when we found home, and everybody just went through all the steps, everybody was assigned to do this and that and everything. And of course, he had to preach his son's funeral and make all the preparation. You're at the funeral, but not there.
No, I hear you on that. I can agree with that. Yes.
You're there.
Yeah.
But mentally,
no, checked out.
You are not even there. You don't even
Just
know who was there.
Emotions.
That's it. A lot of our relatives came from Nebraska. That's his hometown. I did not realize that they were there until I looked at the video.
Yeah.
Which was several weeks later.
Yeah.
I looked at the video. We shared the video. So how we got to this ministry is after many days and nights of praying and crying, we decided to start doing some research.
Yes.
And getting some help. We needed that spiritual help, but then there are other things that you need too. And but we worked on the Jesus aspect to get us to where we needed to be. And so we start studying, we start reading scriptures together. And every morning at 4 o'clock, I would wake up. Every morning at 4 o'clock, I would wake up and I couldn't go back to sleep. I did that for several mornings. And the last morning that I woke up, I said, I'm going to get up because God is waking me up.
Yes.
For a reason. And I'm praying the same prayer. So I found me a prayer room. I used a chair in our family room, and that was my seat. Every morning I stayed there and I prayed. And after I got through praying, I would get up and go back to bed. And it's really something God knows when you're ready to be healed.
Yeah.
Because every time I prayed the prayer, I got up and I thought about, what did we do wrong? Where did we go wrong? What happened? Why are we having to go through this? And every morning I would get back up, go back out and pray. So the last time I got up, I got on my knees and I said, Lord, I need healing. I said, I need you to heal me. And what I did was I said, God, I'm sorry that I didn't want that to be my child. It's some mother's child.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologized to the Lord.
Right.
Because I was angry. And I was angry, not with the Lord per se, but I was so broken, I didn't have time to say, Lord, I didn't want that to be him, but it was somebody's child.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, Lord, forgive me. Mm-hmm. I need healing. And if you heal me, and my husband, him, and then I had to get to God in a personal way for me. I knew my husband was grieving, but and I was grieving on him and grieving with him, but he had to grieve too. And so I had to grieve for myself, and I had to get to a place with the Lord with my personal relationship with him. And so when I did that, and I got on my knees, I don't want to get up, Lord, until you deliver me. Mm. I went to sleep. I woke up. I prayed again. I went to sleep. I did it for several days. And finally, one Sunday, passed away. We do prayer requests in his love offering. He always had prayer requests. And on there it said, my prayer request is. Yeah. And I put that God would deliver me from the heaviness of my son. And my deliverance would be to help somebody else. I wrote it, but I couldn't get up and take it to the altar like he asked. So I did get up. I finally got up, and I stood up, and I got to the altar, and I couldn't put it down. So sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
couldn't drive. So I don't know what happened. All I know that it was on the floor. And it just seemed like hit the floor. It wasn't in my hand. His God just cleansed me. Just like a transfusion over my whole body. I didn't feel the same. I felt like I could have just flown away. And I just ran around the church and God, because I knew deliverance had taken place. And so my husband knew. And from that day, we came to that we started at our church. They were saying, how are you all coping with the loss of your son? We said, it's through Jesus. And we began to share with 2 or 3 people who had gone through a lot of things. And we began to share with them. And after we started sharing with them, it started growing. And after it grew and got to a level, Pastor Wade said, this is a grief ministry. God has given us a grief ministry, and this ministry is to somebody else. That is really how the origin of it began, and that was 2016. So yesterday was his birthday. And he was 59 years old yesterday. And he passed when he was 51. So this is our 8th year of his death, our 7th year in the conference. And that's the origin of how this grief ministry began.
I am without words. That is a story unlike no other story that I have ever heard. And you tell it so beautifully, so eloquently. You can just feel the warmth, the honor, the everything in your voice and speak of your son and the ministry that you started in his name. Yes. So come on, Pastor, tell us a little bit. I want to hear from you as well.
I always like for her to tell that part of the story because it's so personal. She tells her side and it integrates me into her and how we work together. It was very painful. One of the things that I had to deal with was transparency. That was the thing that I had to struggle with. Being a pastor, being an Afro-American male, we've been taught you have to be strong. Don't let people see you cry. Don't let people see you in pain. When I come to it, I've got to present a message. I can't do it grieving every Sunday, yet I was in pain. I had to help minister to my wife. I had to help minister to our children, our grandchildren. Then I had to minister to some of the members. And that was one of the most difficult things that I had to do. So I had to get with God and ask God to give me what I needed. So I had to rely upon the word. That's why we developed a scripture reading and a Bible reading every night in prayer. God gave us this ministry because we made the decision based upon our own experience, how we loved our son and the relationship we had with each other as a family. We had to give grief a voice. Yes. And you can't deal with grief and pain, depression, mental health, anxiety alone. That's our message. You cannot deal with it alone. So many people, when it happens, they become what we call in grief and mental health closet grievers.
Yes.
one of the most difficult things to do is to be a closet griever. You cannot do it alone, but you can do it with God. God has given us this ministry through Jesus Christ by the ministry of the Holy Spirit to share with other people that you don't have to do it alone. And then you have to build around you a support system. And then we're also telling people that professional help is okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that,
Yes,
Pastor.
I want to make sure that we understand it's okay to go to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to a psychologist. It's okay to go to a grief class. It's all right. And we put a stigma on people who seek help. So this is why my wife and I, we make sure every class session we open with the word transparency.
Right.
Because we want people to see you're looking at two people who went out and got some help.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your class, Pastor. Where is it at? How can someone who is grieving reach out and pay in this course?
Okay, I always let my wife do this part. See, we have a partnership.
I see. I like this tag team.
And I know her strengths, and I know mine. So I always yield to her strength, and she yields to mine, and we have a partnership. And we call this a partnership in marriage and ministry.
All right, I like that.
Okay, we are at Ivy Tech Community College. Both campuses, the one in East Chicago and the one here in Gary.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's the effects of grief and mental health. This is what we deal with. Now, on next week, which will be, make sure I have everything right, February the 2nd, we will be in East Chicago.
That's next Thursday, February
Next
2nd.
Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And the following, on the 16th, we will be back in Gary.
Okay.
The 2nd, we will be back in East Chicago. And of course, March the 2nd, that's right. And then March the 16th, we will be back here in Gary. Now, we're at Ivy Tech, and we're getting ready for our conference. And the conference is going to be April the 1st.
Okay.
Everything's already okayed at Ivy Tech, but the conference will be in East Chicago. And that's
Let's say something about Dr. Gonzalez and Keisha White.
Yes.
I know them both very well.
Yeah, we're grateful to God for them. And they have okayed everything for the conference to be there on the 1st of April, 10 a.m. to 3. Now, I do want you to know that we have some facilitators already that you all might possibly know. Elizabeth Guzman, she's from the Calumet College. Mm-hmm. She's bringing her team.
Oh, wonderful.
And they will be the teenagers and children. And actually, we are inviting teenagers and children because we have facilitators that will be talking to them because they grieve too.
Yes.
Teenagers grieve, children are grieving. And also we have Reverend Chet J. Johnson here. I think you might know him, New Tabernacle Baptist Church.
Yes.
And Dr. Dale Cujo. He is he's at the Methodist Hospital.
He's the chaplain.
Chaplain.
Yes, I know.
They will be dealing with pastor's personal pain. Pastor's pain too.
Okay.
And then we have a lady named Elaine Spicer. She's a licensed clinical specialist. And a young lady named Monica, thank you, Pastor Henderson, and she's deal with addiction and mental health. They will be partnering together with the class. We have the children, the teens, the adults, pastors, personal pain, and then we have a new class that we're trying to get together. It's called The Pain of the Classroom, dealing with teachers.
Oh,
we're going to try
school
to
teachers.
We understand now that they are. We understand now that they need help.
Yes, they need a lot of help, not only in dealing with what they're going through personally, maybe at home, and then in the classroom with the students, bringing their issues to them
Right.
as well. It's going on in the schools,
It
but when you drill
is.
down, when you get into the classroom,
So
there's a
while
lot
we're
going
talking,
on.
we just pray that people are listening so they can come to this conference. And then we have personal intervention, which is a private section, one-on-one.
Oh,
If someone talk to us something private, and we can't give them the whole hour, but we can cut out some time for some private things that people don't like to talk about in public.
in public. This is
We
going to be
also be dealing with
wonderful.
financial literacy.
We'll know
To come.
more about the financial literacy piece.
Okay.
I'm meeting with some people next week about financial literacy. So before we confirm that,
All right.
I want to make sure that we're talking to some people from one of the banks in Highland, Indiana, about financial literacy. So I'll know that confirmation after next week.
Okay, sounds good. Now, Chelsea, you're going to help put the word out about this, aren't you?
Yes. How do they sign up for the classes
Yes.
and the conference?
We will have that information after next. We just had the confirmation about the school, so we couldn't put out the information until we had the confirmation.
But we can get that to you.
Yes, and they can still sign up for the classes at Ivy Tech.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
how do we do that?
Oh, you can just come Tuesday night to East Chicago. Thursday night.
At 6 o'clock.
7
At 7
o'clock.
o'clock. 7 o'clock. Come on Thursday at 7 o'clock. And that's next Thursday, the 2nd.
February 2nd.
And of course, on the 16th, come to Gary. Still sign up for the class. And you can also get your book.
And one thing we wanted to ensure people and say to people that what God has for us, let me say it like this. God never intended for us to live in pain every day. That's not his will. So this is how we help walk people through the pain of grief and mental health, and to let them know never. Now this is a preaching moment now.
Oh.
Come on,
Never fail to live life to its fullest.
Right.
He said, "I come that you might have life." That's what Jesus said, and you might have more abundant. So we want people to have life. But yes, we had this moment of the presentation, but now we're back on high. We're excited about what God's getting ready to do with this conference. And every Thursday night, we're excited about what God is doing. And we want people to know that mental health and grief are inextricably tied together. You cannot separate the two, grief and mental health.
And I think that that's an important point for people to understand. And I don't think that people really do understand that. And you spoke so well about being there, but not really being there throughout the entire service. You were there. Your body was physically there, but you mentally you had checked out. Even to family members who were there, probably even spoke to them and didn't even realize in the moment that you were at that video weeks later. And it's like, oh, they were there. I talked to them. And so, yeah, it's just like being in a fog.
Right.
And it's like you're there, but you're not there. It's like somebody is standing in your place. And it's like you're watching it, but you don't really feel it. That's the words I'm looking for. Out of body experience. It's like you're there, but you're not really there because your spirit and your mind and are not there. They're just not there.
And Doctor, I'm sharing with pastors that on that experience, we're going to have to redesign funerals. Because a lot of times we have a lot of things contained in the funeral and people need to be ministered to. We have a lot of condolences, resolutions. People don't hear that. And we want to make sure that our resolutions end. So they said now what we do is we just acknowledge certain pastors, certain church. Then the political people always send theirs. Don't even know the people. And when it's time for the pastor to really share in ministry, most of the time the family is almost tuned out because they're so tired from the preparation. And by the time they get to all of that and spending 2 hours in a funeral, they're bummed out.
Mhm.
So I'm saying with pastors, we're going to have to reschedule and restructure how we actually do funerals.
That's very interesting. That's very
Yeah.
interesting, and it makes sense because sometimes the readings and the condolences and the cards, it's just a bit much. It is. It gets to be a bit much, and like you said, Pastor, they check out again because the family is tired. They're exhausted. You know, they've been dealing with the grief, holding it in, going through the motions,
Right.
people coming over, bringing food. Not that it's not appreciated, but it's like so much
It's
happening
just so
at
much
one
you
time.
can take.
And the
It's just
problem that we have is we bombard the people before the funeral. And when the funeral is over, you're alone. So we're sharing with people how to deal with after. When the funeral is over, all the family's gone back home, people are gone. Now it's what we call aftercare.
Yes.
How do we deal with the aftercare with families now? So that's part of what we do in our class. And then the final thing that I want to say before we go into something else is I always tell people, don't let people determine how you grieve.
How long
you grieve.
Exactly.
Or how you grieve, how long you grieve. It's not, see, grief is based upon the depth of your love.
Yes.
That's why you grieve so deeply, is because grief is based upon the depth of your, how much do you love the person? And then not only that, grief is more than just the death of someone. We're saying that. Grief is more than just the death of someone. All the things that's happening in our world, just for an example, this mass shooting, that can cause you grief.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What can happen in your community can cause you grief. Losing a job can cause you grief. Then we have some young people who have courtships and they marriages break up. That's grief. So we have to share with people how to handle these areas of grief. And that's what our mission is about. And also, again, I emphasize this mental health piece. It's critical that we understand mental health.
And quit pushing it into the corner, or
Yes.
into the closet.
It's real.
And not talking about it.
Yes.
We really try to separate it out.
And you cannot separate
like you said, Pastor, it can't be separated.
Yeah.
It's so linked. It's so woven together.
Yes.
Yes.
Grief stands for something.
Oh yes, I want to know what grief stands for.
God's relief in every family.
Say that again.
That's the acronym.
That's the acronym.
Say it
God's relief in every family.
God's relief in
God's
every
relief.
God's relief
in every
in every family.
I like that.
GRIEF. Yes, God gave that to us.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the book.
All right.
Yes.
Okay,
we're grateful. We're so grateful about this book. This is about a 5 years worth of work in dealing with grief, mental health.
We'll just pass
We
this to
had
you.
classes and all the things we have. So we have a grief, and this grief book it's really a workbook. It's not a manual. It's a workbook. It's a guide in helping to overcome grief. And in this book, my wife will tell you what our goals, what our purpose. She'll tell you what our mission.
Right,
we have some tabs that are foremost in this book, and it's a book that you have to work. It's called a workbook. It's a book you have to work. There are blank spaces all through the book. You have to fill them in. We want people.
It's your personal book.
You brought this for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's see if it's autographed. We can autograph it today.
Yes, yes.
But this book is personal. What I'm saying is personal. It belongs to you.
Okay.
Everything in that book is about you.
Okay, I see. Because okay.
I just want to make sure I hadn't autographed that. So we'll do that for you.
Thank you. So tell me about it, because I want to know how to go through the process.
Okay, I will tell you our goal and our purpose and our mission. Just briefly, the goal of the J. Wade Ministry is to seek to make plain how to apply God and the message of Jesus to various cultures, meet people where they are, and lead them where they need to go. And we want to assure that what we present is relevant to meet the needs of grieving individuals and families. In the midst of your grief, you are not without hope. Yesterday is what has made you who you are today. God will give you strength, hope, and courage to conquer today and tomorrow. That is the goal. The purpose is the JWA Ministries to assist and individuals and families who are suffering grief due to the loss of loved ones, health, home, employment, and possessions. And in doing so, we recognize the stages and symptoms of grief. We identify the stages, and we offer aid to a successful recovery. And of course, the mission is to give guidance for a healthy recovery process.
I like that you use the word recovery
Yes.
in your mission,
Yes.
because that gives that sense of hope.
Yes.
That there is light, that
Yes.
there is recovery, that there is, restoration,
Yes.
and moving forward. And
God doesn't want you to stay where you are. He wants you to be healthy, and that's what we want to do. People to be healthy and recover. It's like people in our class we had at Ivy Tech and Gary last week. I shared with them that the process of recovery is similar to a person who goes to the doctor. You say, I have high blood pressure. They've diagnosed it. Here's the medication. Here's what you need to do. And this is what we do in the grief recovery. We say to you, here's where you are in grief. Now here's what you need to do, and here's we help you with your recovery.
Can I want to challenge you both a little bit.
Okay.
In regards to substance abuse.
Okay.
How many of the people that you see that are suffering with grief do you think have turned to substance abuse because of their grief and the inability to be able to grieve properly?
I don't know of any right now that we've had in the classroom.
Not in the classroom.
Some one-on-one.
Okay.
We've had some one-on-one,
yes.
but we're not in the classroom. I think with the substance abuse piece, I think people shy away from in a crowd, but they will talk to us one-on-one, privately.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wonder about that sometimes, especially when, some of the things that we just talked about, how people tend to have a tendency to swallow the grief. They feel like they may not have anybody that they can express it to, and people are saying, oh, get over it, move on, and not really allowing them to go through the process. So I just wonder, and I'm talking about, all and sometimes marijuana and
what we try to discourage people,
drugs.
we try to let them know that you cannot get healed with a bottle, with drugs and substance. That's what we work on, that part. Yes. And so we understand that well. But we have not dealt with that in class.
Individual people to come.
Okay.
For private.
I would imagine that there's probably some people that have turned to substances to help them get through the process.
And one thing we found out in talking to people one-on-one is that a lot of people do it privately. They do it in the home. They never drink when they go out home. When they're doing drugs, it's always in the corner, hiding, this kind of thing. But it's actually there. And so we have to share with people the importance. How do you deal with this?
Yes.
And then we're recommending, we had a young person that just recommended to go to AA. We don't try to solve all of the problems. That's one thing we try to do. But what we try to do is put people in position to go where they need to get for help. Now, what we offer that. We don't back up on it. We offer God. We offer Jesus. We offer the Holy Spirit. We offer the Word of God. But there are some areas that require professional help. So we share with them, even with couples. We share couples. If you need some professional help, here's what you need. We can handle you. But then there's sometimes my wife and I, they come to, you've been married 60 years? Yes. And we can counsel you. But sometimes, here's what I found in counseling people that they won't really be completely honest with you. And you know it.
Because
they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know all that personal stuff. That's what's got them to this point where they are. So you have to recommend them. You need to go somewhere else. So that's what we do. So we understand that.
Yes, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, there's such a connection because our organization, Community Health Net, we have the behavioral health component, we have the integrated behavioral health into the medical visit, because a lot of times, not every time that you come to the doctor is for a sore throat or for your high blood pressure.
Right.
Sometimes there's something that's making your blood pressure high.
Right.
Grief can do that.
Yes.
There's something that is making your blood sugar out of control, even though you're trying to, take your medicine and eating properly. So we find that when we start to look at those social determinants of health, that we start to uncover things that are impacting and affecting our patients' day-to-day health.
There you go.
So I want you, because you all are in East Chicago and you're in Gary, Community Health Net has locations close to those areas, so you can send those patients for medical, for behavioral health. We have chiropractic care now. We have optometry. So there's a connection, and we'll be able to
connect.
take that.
We want to connect. We want to connect in every way. We want to connect in every way. We do not want to be on an island.
Yes.
We want, because we know it takes a team, and we call this in ministry, we call this collaboration. That's what we call it. Right. And that's what we want to do. We're asking people to help collaborate with us, and we collaborate with you to make this work. So we'll get all the information from you about it, because I want my wife to tell you, we have a Facebook page, we have a website. I want her to tell you, she knows all the call letters. I don't keep up with this.
You just know you got it,
right? Yes, we are on Facebook Live.
Okay.
jewadeministries Inc. And of course, we're on every Thursday. It's just every first Thursday. Okay. And every third Thursday, we're at the schools. But every Thursday, we're on at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And
on
then they do the rest Sunday at 7 o'clock.
That is wonderful.
So we're on the website, www.jewadeministriesinc.com.
Say that one more time.
Oh, www.jewadeministriesinc.com.
Okay.
Website, and we are also
YouTube.
Oh. It's just J.E. Ministries.
Stay on YouTube, guys. Okay.
So we are in those areas.
Well, that is wonderful. And what I like to do is get you information, packets actually about the Community Health Net and the services that we provide, and then you can have that information available when you're in your classes on Thursday.
And we can talk about it.
Yeah, you can hand it out, give it to people. They can call on their own and find out more information about our services and how we can help.
Wonderful.
You're a blessing already.
Yes, you are.
To be a part of this, because that's what we need. We want to be able to recommend to people. I tell my wife, we don't have all the different areas of ministry that they need, but we want to be able to recommend them. And I love this, what you're saying.
Yes.
Well, we call that connection.
That's what we call
it.
Connected. We love it. We love it.
Dr. Seabrook, can I share some of what has been said online? We said, Dr. Seabrook, thank you for having Pastor and Mother Wade on today. This is very helpful. This is from Brian Page in
Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Matter of fact, he ordered some books just to go.
Right.
And I want my wife to tell you about the book as soon as she makes a little stop and come back. And she's going to tell you all about the book, how you can get the book. And it's a workbook. We want to make sure you understand that it is a workbook. We don't want people to come in and just sit. You have to work at something. You have to work at, and people have to be willing to go home and go to work. I tell them, this is how we made it. We didn't sit here no, you have to work at this. You have to spend some time. And if you don't want to spend some time, and don't come to class one time and then I don't see you for the next 6 months. No, you don't want to work. You want it handed to you, and it doesn't happen like that.
No.
It's just
there's a process.
That's a process. Like taking your medicine one time and think it's going to help you.
That's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Come on, doctor.
I like the way you say
that. That's not going to work.
But We have the books. Pastor Wade and I have the books in our possession. All you have to do is call 219-682-8402. Talk to myself or Pastor Wade. We will ship the book to you.
And can
The
you say
book is
that
$25.
$25? Can you say that phone number again?
219-682-8402.
You said about Reverend Page in Omaha. He just ordered some books.
He did.
Yeah.
Tell him thank you, Pastor Page.
Yes. We also have a comment.
I don't care what's going wrong. God won't let it last too long. I don't care what's going wrong. My God won't let it last too long. I don't care what's going wrong. My God won't let it last too long, because you're not in this thing alone. You can make